Good evening. Good Shabbat. We are very excited. We are pleased to have new friends joining us. This is very special. This is important. This is meaningful. We have a confluence of new friends and new friendships occurring this day, this evening, and we're delighted that our synagogue, Ahavas Chesed, which means bringing a love of kindness into the world, can be a place where people of backgrounds that are varied can come together. It's very important to us. And after the service, we do have some refreshments. We hope that people can stay for a little while and visit and get acquainted. We have a number of elements going on. First, if you're not familiar, this is the prayer book, and it's here in the book rests. It is Hebrew, and so it goes right to left. So when you see this gold wording on the front, that is the front of the book. It may look like the back of the book, Mr. Jackson, but it is the front of the book. And I've had a lot of training to tell people this is the front of the book, years in the seminary, so I'm allowed to say that. So, and we begin at the beginning, we continue on this way. So when we announce pages, there it is. And obviously, as you flip through, you'll see that there is Hebrew on one side and English on the other. And we do have a song sheet, which we'll explain in just a little bit. And we also have Yehuda. Yehuda is a member of our synagogue, and he has shared his passion for singing and for prayer with us for 9 years, 10 years maybe? 11 years. And we do have a monthly service, which we call Guitar Shabbat, which is not tonight. That is next week. That's our monthly guitar service. But Yehuda, when he found out that we have some new friends joining us this evening, volunteered to come and to share Ruach, spirit, and passion with us this evening, and we're delighted, so we're thankful. So, looking at the Siddur, which is how we navigate. The Siddur is the Hebrew word for the prayer book. Siddur comes from the word seder, which means order. Everything is in an order. Everything is in its place, unlike my office. But turning now to page number 5, we'll begin in the Siddur on page number 5. It's the traditional beginning of the service. It's called Shalom Aleichem, which is a song. It's a hope. It's a prayer. Shalom is the greeting peace, and Aleichem means let there literally be peace upon y'all. And originally it began as a song to be sung in the home, and people liked it so much that it migrated from the home and it became part of the Friday night synagogue service. So the song here is on the bottom of page number 5, and you have the translation on the facing page. Shalom Aleichem, peace to you, the ministering angels. And the red ink, anytime you see red ink on the bottom or in the side, and it looks a little confused, it's phonetic, and it's the way of sounding out the Hebrew words by using English lettering. So we have a lot to navigate, but we're beginning with the Shalom Aleichem on page number 5.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharetz, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamelakim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Amlakim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni leShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Amlakim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Zeichem leShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi
That song plays off of an old Jewish bit of lore that angels come into everybody's house on the Erev of Shabbat, the Erev of Sabbath. And we're singing a welcome to these angels. And then from home to home to home, the angels continue to traverse point A, point B, all across. So the question in my head is, what are we saying or singing to the angels such that we encourage them on their paths? If we're saying words of peace and of hope and of support and of openness and of caring, then those angels get a boost. But if we're closed-minded, if we're narrow-minded, if we're not welcoming them in the right way, they're not going to get a boost to go to the next place. So our sentiment has to be strong enough and clear enough and righteous enough to help those angels along their path. And now we turn to a psalm on page number 11. The nickname for this psalm is L'chu Nirananu, which means, come on, let's all sing to God. And Yehuda composed his own melody for this, a little bit of Hebrew on page 11, and then we'll turn to a little bit of English in just a moment on page number 12.
Dead string. Betoda Naria Letsu Ishenu Bismirot Narialo Lechuneranina la 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 Lechuneranina Naria Letsu Ishenu Nikad Mafona Betoda Naria Letsu Ishenu Bismirot Narialo Lechuneranina la 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 Lechuneranina la 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 Lechuneranina
On page 12, the second half of the stanza of this Tehillah, the Mizmor for Shabbat, it's on page 12, the English. If only you would listen today together, if only you would listen today to God's voice and not become hard-hearted like the people at Merivah, like that time at Massah in the desert, when your ancestors tried me and tested me, though they had seen what I had wrought. For 40 years I was troubled by that generation, and I said, these are people whose hearts have gone astray. They do not know my way. So in anger I swore they would not enter. And you might ask, why are we beginning the Sabbath service, which is supposed to be a peak experience with talking about people who didn't know God's ways? And the answer is because everybody has the capacity to not know God's ways. And the challenge, as presented in this psalm from the Bible, is to not be hard-hearted. What causes you, me, not you, me, to be hard-hearted? That's how we begin the Friday evening service. Think back this past week. What did I do? How was I hard-hearted? How can I soften my heart for the week ahead? I'm walking towards Sabbath, you might say. I'm walking towards Israel. I'm walking towards wholeness and holiness. I think that's why this psalm is here, opening the beginning of the service. And on page number 16 on the English side, on page 16 on the English side, worshippers of idols, be shamed for praising false gods. All that is deemed supreme bow before God. Zion hears of it and rejoices. The cities of Judah exult as you, Adonai, pass judgment. You, Adonai, are above all that is earthly, exalted over all that is worshipped as divine. Those who love Adonai hate evil. God protects the lives of the faithful, saving them from the hands of the sinful. Light is sown for the righteous and joy for the upright. Rejoice in Adonai, you righteous people, and thank God as you pronounce the divine holy name. Light is sown for the righteous and joy for the upright. This is a poem. Imagine that God is a farmer, and God's in the fields, which is the entire universe. And God's planting not seeds, not shoots, but light. Heavenly light is being placed everywhere throughout the universe. And when something is being placed by a farmer, a gardener, is going to grow. And so the light is growing. What's causing the light to grow? You and I are interacting. And in a way, we become escorts of the divine light. So we have a handout. I'm hoping this works, folks. I'm working on my technology here for just a moment. I'm just overwhelmed that members of the NAACP chapter contacted us. Ron contacted me some time ago and asked, can we come? And it just touched me deeply. And we're honored. We're just so deeply honored and touched by this expression of friendship and of kindness. And I did a little bit of reading about the NAACP, and there was a hymn that was written in 1900 by a man named Mr. Johnson, I believe. And that's what this is. So we're going to try to sing along with Alicia Keys. Did you know she's in the synagogue this evening? Alicia Keys is in the synagogue.
Oh, no.
Yes, Alicia Keys, she came to Shul. Alicia Keys came to Ahavas Chesed. You didn't know Alicia Keys came to here she is. And that's what this song is, so we're going to hope this works. So you've got the song sheet before you, and the words are, lift every voice and sing. Let's see if this works. Time out 1 second. Oh, got to do this. She's not singing in Hebrew, but we're working on it. We're working on it. Let's see if I can get this. And we need to go. And
every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the
harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the glistening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Sing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Let us march on till victory is won. Let us march on till victory. And it's walking together, that's the first step. It's walking together that are the essential steps of bringing victory. And victory, by the way, is a Hebrew concept we talk about during the days of the Omer, which is bridging the Exodus and standing at Sinai. And victory doesn't mean having a sword that's bigger than somebody else's sword. Victory means building a society wherein people are equal. That's what victory is. And so now we'll turn, if you will, to page 22. This is a meditation before a well-known song, the Chadodi. It's a meditation. It's on page number 22 in the prayer book, page 22. And it gains prominence in our tradition perhaps 15, 16, 1700 years ago because there are some word plays with letters in Hebrew. But for now, we're looking at the English side. This is called the Ana B'choach, but I'm always struck by that first line. Look at the first line. We'll read the entire stanza and just meditate, but the first stanza. If you would, may your mighty right hand undo the knot that ties us up. I never get tired of that phrase. Undo the knot that ties us up. We continue. Accept the prayers of your people. You who are revered, raise us up. Cleanse us. Almighty, if you would guard as the apple of your eye those who seek your unity. Bless them, cleanse them, have compassion on them, always act justly toward them. Mighty Holy One, in your abundant goodness, guide your people. Alone exalted, turn to your people who invoke your holiness. Listen to our pleas, hear our cries, knowing the hidden depths within us. Praise be the name of the one whose glorious sovereignty is forever and ever. And we turn to L'Chadodi. Which stanzas tonight? First two stanzas on page 23. This song is a welcoming song. Symbolically, Sabbath is joining us right now. Sabbath, she, feminine noun, is walking in the door. And so we're singing to her. We're serenading Sabbath. That's the first two stanzas on page 23. And then on page 25, the last two stanzas for which we rise when Sabbath is actually walking in the door, you might say. So opening two stanzas on page 23, closing two stanzas on page 25. L'Chadodi.
Lechandodi lekrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekavela. Lechandodi lekrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekavela. Shamor v'zakor v'dibur echad, Ishmi anu elam yuchad, Adonai echad u'shmo echad, L'shimul tiferet b'litila. Lecha dodi, lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela, lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela, likrat Shabbat u'b'necha, ki mekor habaracha, Rosh miketem nesucha, sof maaseh shalach matila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela, lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Yabinu zmol tiperotzi, Yetz Adonai taritzi, Al yadish ben parzi, V'nisim havnagila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela, lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. We v'shalom ateret bala, Gam v'simcha u'votzei ola, Toch emunei am zegula, Bo'ichala, bo'ichala. Lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela, Lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela.
And Shabbat is now here, which, from a Jewish point of view, beats anything and everything. Shabbat's here. Golly. Let's get started with the official part of the service, which is the evening service is known as the Borchu. We're supposed to rush into Sabbath. We have to stop. And turn now to page number 26, which, as I've said many times, but some are perhaps unfamiliar with it, and therefore we've got to talk about it again. I think this may be the most important part of all Jewish life. Because this one little phrase, which isn't really a prayer, maybe it's a proclamation. It's much more than a greeting. Maybe it's a blessing. Brings us up short. What could stop us from continuing on with the service? And the answer is, we have a family who just lost someone, just buried a loved one, and this is the first time they're coming into the synagogue since the funeral. So we're supposed to stop. We're supposed to pay attention to the family. And if we don't pay attention to the family, we can't go on to the service. And that tells me what our priorities are when we come to organized prayer or interactions of all type. We have to pay attention to each other. And this is a special greeting. And it uses the word that is unaccustomed to most of our mouths and ears as Jews. It's hamakom, which isn't the typical name for God. It's literally the place, but I think of it as the everywhere. And I say, hamakom, may the everywhere be close to you. May the everywhere be close to you. Hamakom. May the everywhere, the entire place, Yenachemotcha betoch, be close to you. Avalei Tzion v'shar Yerushalayim. And once we stop and look into your eyes, this is the first time you've come into the synagogue, and we say that we're focusing on you, and we're summoning up a prayer that's beyond all words. And then we're ready to go on with the formal service. But if there's one thing that our Jewish people need to remember, is to pay attention to each other in the context of mourning and loss, and the context of every other experience. And when we pay attention to each other, then we're better equipped to pray. So, but we're going a side direction because I can. And it's the NAACP Shabbat. And so, Yehuda. So before we go on to the official beginning of the service, please turn to page number 82. And on the bottom of page 82 is a well-known text from the Bible. It's a phrase from the Psalms. And we'll wait till everyone gets to the bottom of page 82. It's here in the Hebrew, the translation and the transliteration. It's how good and pleasant it is when companions dwell together. The Hebrew is hine matov uma naim shevet achim gam yachad. And this comes from the Bible. It's a very well-known text. It's a phrase of the Bible, but it's become such a popular piece that it has taken on many different melodies. And so Jewish people the world over sing this in a variety of melodies. This is Hine Matov. And will you lead us in Hine Matov?
Hine Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov, Hine Matov. Ya-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Hine Matov, Hine Matov. Ya-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Behold how good and how pleasant it is when brethren dwell together. Behold how good and how pleasant it is when brethren dwell together in unity, in unity. Ya-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. In unity, in unity. Ya-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Hine Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov, Hine Matov. Ya-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Hine Matov, Hine Matov. Ya-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Behold how good and how pleasant it is when brethren dwell together. Behold how good and how pleasant it is when brethren dwell together in unity, in unity. Ya-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. In unity, in unity. Ya-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
And now we turn back to page number 28 for just a moment before we do rise. And by the way, if people have a bit of a slight personal impairment, let's say, can't quite stand up, the back and the legs aren't quite working, stay seated. Please feel free to stay seated. There is a tradition to rise at certain parts of the service, but if you're having difficulty, please remain seated and don't worry about that. So for now, we're turning to page 28, and this is the conclusion of the Friday night psalm and the Saturday morning psalm that are called the Psalm for Shabbat. It's the last two stanzas on page 28. And this is talking about people who are striving to be righteous. The righteous flourish like the date palm, thrive like a cedar in Lebanon, planted in the house of Adonai. They flourish in our God's courtyards. In old age they remain fruitful, still fresh and bountiful, proclaiming Adonai is upright, my rock in whom there is no flaw. O dinum beseva disheni ranim you lagid kirsharanoi tzurvlo tabo Hu. And now we turn to the Baruch Hu, the evening service. And those so able to rise comfortably, I'm on page 39A. Page 39A, Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai Amavorach. Baruch Adonai Amavorach Le'olam Voed. And we are seated. Allow, please, on the English side, the first blessing of the evening service on page 39A. Page 39A, we have some seats here on the left-hand side, my left. Baruch atah Adonai, our God, sovereign of time and space, whose word brings the evening dusk, whose wisdom opens the gates of dawn, whose understanding changes the day's division, whose will sets the succession of seasons and arranges the stars in their places in the sky, who creates day and night, who rolls light before darkness and darkness from light, who makes day pass into night, who distinguishes day from night. Adonai Tzvaot is your name, living and ever-present God. May your rule be with us forever and ever. El Chai v'Kayam Tamidim Lo Chaleinu L'Olam Voed Baruch Atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim. The first blessing, every single night of the year, speaks about the power of God to have nature operate so that we have day and night and transition from day to night, dusk into dark. Imagine a day without nightfall. Could we operate? Now look at page 40. The second bracha, recited every single night. Torah, the divine word, and God's love. Could we live in a world without love? The presentation of these two blessings side by side is teaching a very important Jewish principle, that enmeshed within the reality of day and night, light and dark, every element of physicality, we have to have love. If we don't have love within the physicality, we won't be able to operate the same way we couldn't live if we had only a DIY of dark or light. We need both. On page 40, it's the last two lines on the English side. Do not ever withdraw your love from us. Baruch atah Adonai, who loves the people Israel. V'avotecha al tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. On page 41, the Shema, the declaration of ultimate and pure monotheism. Listen, Israel, pay attention. There's only one. There will only be one, always. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Vishinantam labanecham, vidibar tabam, bishivtecha beveitecha, uvelechtecha vaderech, uvishachbecha v'kumecha, ukishartam laot al yadecha, v'hayulet totafot beinecha, Uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha. A few moments of silence considering the passage on page 42, the Hebrew, the translation, or the commentary, or a few moments of silence. Adonai Elohechem emet. On page 44, Yehuda, Michamocha. Page 44, Michamocha.
Michamocha bohelim Adonai, Michamocha nedar bakodesh, Noratai lo dosefele, Noratai lo dosefele, Malchutecha rahu banecha, Okeyam lifne Moshe, Zeli anu ve'amru, Adonai melech le'lam vayed. Da 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 Adonai, Michamocha nedar bakodesh, Noratei lo dosefele, Noratei lo dosefele, Noratei lo dosefele.
V'ne'emar ki Adonai et Yaakov ugalo miyad chazai mimenu baruch ata Adonai gal Yisrael. On page 45, you see here on the English side, this is the blessing, it's called Peace in the Night. And I am particularly moved by this. I say this twice every single night. It originates as a quiet, reflective prayer to be recited before going to sleep at night. It's called the Shema on the bed. And that's when I say the Hashkivenu. But maybe 1,000 years ago, it left the private bedtime going to sleep ritual and came into the organized prayer book. So we say it twice. And what is it? And the imagery is for a parent to tuck a child into bed in safety. A parent tucks a child into bed and draws the covers up. Halavai, a grandparent, anybody who through love is granted the trust to tuck somebody into bed. You have to have a kind of a trusting, intimate relationship, to be invited into somebody's place, to help place this person into the bed and drawn up. And hopefully there's a sense of peace and calm and tranquility. That's what we aspire for. And that's the tone of this prayer here. And the first word is hashkivenu, which literally lay us down. But it's not enough for a typical person to say it for me. The prayer is speaking for all of us. So when one person is saying this prayer at his or her own bedtime ritual, the vocabulary is saying, think of the whole world. That's the hashkivenu. And there are people all across the world who don't have the peace that perhaps you and I may be blessed with, laying their heads down on a pillow at night, knowing they're safe and secure. So we have to keep them in our hearts and our prayers every single night. Every night. Together, please, the English on page 45. Hashkivenu Adonai, our God, to sleep peacefully. Awaken us to life, O Sovereign. Spread over us your canopy of peace. Restore us with your good counsel, and save us for the sake of your name. Shield us. Remove from us enemies, pestilence, sword, starvation, and sorrow. Remove the evil forces that surround us. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, for you, God, watch over and deliver us. And you, God, are sovereign, merciful, and compassionate. Ensure our going and coming for life and peace now and forever. May you spread over us your canopy of peace. Baruch atah Adonai, who spreads the canopy of peace over us, over all the people, Israel, and over Jerusalem and the world. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. Top of page 46, Vishamru.
Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. B'nei uvein b'nei Yisrael oti leolam, oti leolam, oti leolam. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, asa Adonai et ha-shvayim ve'et haaretz. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi Shabbat vaynafash, Shabbat vaynafash, Shabbat vaynafash. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam.
Adal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, b'nei b'chayechon v'yom echon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael b'gala b'gala uv'izman kariv v'yimeru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach La'olam al-yom me'olmaya Yitbarach, Vishtabach, Vitpar, Vitnase, Vithadar, Vitale, Vitalal, Shemer Kedusha, Brechu, Leila, Mekorbachata, Vishirata, Tushbechata, Vinechemata, Da'amiran Bialma, Vimeru, Amen. If you look at page 47, you'll see a little title. This is the evening Amida. Amida is a Hebrew word. It means the standing up prayer. So if your knees and legs are cooperating, you're invited to rise in just a moment for the silent prayer. And if not, remain seated. Why would we name a prayer the standing up prayer? And the answer is because we want to give a sense that this is a time for focus. And within the Jewish mindset, this prayer is your direct phone call with God. And if you're called to follow the tradition, the text is from page 47 to 52, and there's 7 blessings, one reflective of each day of the week. This is Sabbath. This is the pause in creation. So I tend to think of each little paragraph as, what did I do Sunday? What did I do Monday? What did I do Tuesday? Was I being creative? Was I being productive? Was I contributing in some way? And then we get to Friday night, which is Sabbath. Time to pause. So you might consider a thought. There is some commentary on the text on the English side as well. We're invited for a few moments of rise, silent prayer. Again, the traditional text, page 47 to 52, or a prayer that you might fashion of your own. I nicknamed this in AACP Shabbat because a good friend, Ron Ali, called out to me a couple weeks ago and asked, can we come? And I've been meditating upon this. I think the best part of it is that Ron called me, or that he felt comfortable enough calling me. We've known each other for a long time, and we've been in many places together, Ron. And you came to support us in prayer during an incredibly low moment in our lives when we had a community-wide gathering just hours after the shooting of the synagogue in Pittsburgh, and you were there. And when people walk together during times of sorrow, there's a bond that's built. There's a strengthening that's built. And I'm grateful to Imam Kamal Salim because he reached out to me. And we've been together on some occasions as well. And Imam Kamal's called me on a number of occasions years ago and also more recently because he wants to strengthen our friendship. And I'm deeply touched and I'm grateful. So there's an opportunity for just a moment of greetings. And so Ron, may I put you on the spot for a little bit? You ever spoken in public before, Ron Ali? That's all right.
As Muslims greet Assalamu alaikum, as I always receive greetings from, I say Steve. He calls me Ron, I call him Steve. And sometimes I might say Stephen, but I never get a reply then. Imam Salim, and the Mobile Masjid of Al-Islam has been a friend of our community, and his leadership has always inspired me. He's trying to follow me now, and he's had surgery on one of his knees. I've had surgery on both of mine. So I take pleasure in standing before you. But before I begin, I wrote notes because I'll talk too long. But that was a movie, The Jazz Singer, I watched a long time ago, and Neil Diamond made me a believer in the miracle of the voice. When he was challenged to remain a cantor, but he chose popular singing. But through the movie, when his spiritual essence came alive to him, what a beautiful voice. I've enjoyed that tonight as well. And the sincerity that comes along with that. So this is so special. Because the history of the NAACP, it shows that its forming was formed to stop lynching of Negroes. The early founders, they consisted of course, Negroes. That's not surprising. What is surprising is that they were joined by Caucasians. Those Caucasians, instead of saying white folk, adhered to the tenets of Judaism. They were activists and advocates of freedom, justice, and equality. The lives of the innocent moved them to action, moved them to organize with us upon their convictions, to stand upon their faith and belief that all humanity is created in excellence and endowed by the Creator to serve his purpose and pursue the gift of life. We honor those courageous men and women and join with their ancestors as we, our ancestors, pursue the best life as Americans who are free-thinking, who are appreciative of grace, mercy, and love, true patriots in the tradition of patriots, now and long past. I must say to you that Rabbi Steve, I put him on the spot all the time. He's getting me back right now, but I was ready for him. And I say openly that this closing should be familiar to you because it is Steve-ish. May we protect the innocent and serve the Lord Creator forever. Amen.
We have people here from different backgrounds, different age groups, different points of origin, different communities, different mindsets. And it occurs to me that in any community, every community across the face of this planet, going back however many thousands of years we want to count, wherever people lived, whichever background they were, they came to a location. And this location was important. And eventually, that became a house of worship. It may have been an ancient temple, a monastery, a synagogue, a mosque. Across the face of the planet, people gathered together. They were drawn together because they knew that by being together, they'd have a greater chance of hearing that voice. When you put people together, even of different backgrounds, that critical mass helps to generate something within to hear something from without. Tomorrow morning, synagogues all over the world are going to read a Torah reading. And the name of the Torah reading is Teruma, which means contribution. And it dates back, bless you, to 3,300 years. Standing at the base of Sinai, they just experienced the greatest encounter of all time, humanity and the voice beyond all voices. And the end result is we need to get organized. And they began the gradual process of designing and then building a worship thing, tent, structure, which we now call tabernacle or mishkan. And at the very beginning of this 13-month process, Moses says a word, and he says to people, you bring whatever you can. And some are going to be gifted in smithy, so bring gold or silver or bronze. And some will be talented in weaving, so bring your dyed fabrics. Some of you will be gifted in woodwork. Bring your woodwork. Some will be gifted and talented with working precious stones. Bring your precious stones. Bring whatever you can, and come together. And after all this work of come together, you will make for me a holy place, and I will dwell within, and you and I would say, oh, God's going to dwell within it, the place. But that's not what happens, because the very known phrase in tomorrow's Torah reading is, everybody come together and bring your skills, your energies, your talents, your resources, your desires, your hopes, your heart, and come together and build this holy place, and I will dwell within them. Who's the them? It's the people. God's not going to dwell within a carpet and a wall and cupboards. When people come together with their energies, with their desire to hear a shared voice, to contribute to the background so that there is a shared voice, then people are going to be the recipient of. God's going to dwell within them because each one of us contributes to a greater whole. Your capacity for fine woodwork or artistry or fundraising or energy or construction adds to his and to hers and to mine and ours. People of all backgrounds generate the holy place, so God will dwell within them, within the people. And if we're working at cross purposes with one another, and we're not sharing our energies, our design, our hope, our thirst for justice, our desire to work together, to respect. And this community or this individual is here, and this is here, and this is here, and there's not a sense of unity, then lo shachanti, God's not going to dwell within them. And we're not talking about a building or a structure. We're talking about people. And so now, I'm stepping away from just a moment from the idea of building a synagogue, a temple, a church, a mosque, a monastery, or a structure, and I'm saying, what does it mean when we build a society together? And each person, each constituent, each component brings his, her own abilities of love, of searching for justice, of energy, of desire to build a functioning society wherein we care together, harnessing the abilities and the skills and the talents and the resources. V'shachanti b'tocham, God will dwell within them, the people who make up the society. That's what we're talking about now. So the time has come for you and me to learn from the errors of our ancestors and our forebears, to learn from our own mistakes. When we don't utilize all of our skills and all of our energies and all of our resources for justice, honor, respect, compassion, caring, open-mindedness. These are the furnishings of the new mikdash, the new holy place. Yes, having wallpaper and tables and chairs and electric lights and air conditioning and heat, it's all very comfortable, and having pretty tapestries are all very important. But the bedrock for God to dwell within the people is caring, humanity, shared vision of what it means to build a holy place. To recognize that you have much to give and I have much to gain, multiplied by every single person involved. Think of all the skills, all the resources, all the gifts, all the contributions that can be brought forth from a community that wants to build a holy place, so that God is v'shachanti b'tocham, dwelling within each and every one of all of us. That's what we're looking for today. We've got a start. We have much more to build. And thinking just as a metaphor, in the passages that we read beginning tomorrow, there are actually 5 passages. The first 2 are the design phase, then there's a break, and then there's the construction phase. It's the largest unit within the entire Torah. 5 passages given to what we've just summarized here. The idea of having people coming together, sharing their resources, their abilities, their priorities to build a community of holiness where all feel the presence of God. It's 5 Torah readings long. It's a challenge, but we've got the abilities, we've got the love, we have the resources, we have each other. May we continue to build, and we all say, Amen. we rise the Aleinu in the Sidur. On page number 56, we are nearly concluded for our friends. Page 56. The Aleinu is on page 56. Aleinu leshabeach laton hakol latet gedula liotzer breshit shelo asanu kgoyei haratzot velo samanu kimishbechot ha'adama shelo sam chelkeinu kahem v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam v'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shehu Noteh Shamayim V'Yoser Haaretz U'Moshav Yekaro B'Shamayim Mimal U'Shchinatu Zol B'Gavei Meromim Hu Eloheinu Ein Od Emet Malkeinu Efes Zulatom Kakatu B'Toratom V'yatata Yom V'Shevota El Levavecha Ki Adonai Hu Elohim B'Shamayim Mimal V'Yal Haaretz mitachat ein od. Kakatu b'Toratecha Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed v'nemar v'haya Adonai le'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yihyeh Adonai echad U'Shema echad. Please remain standing. On page number 58, we have a prayer entitled the Mourner's Kaddish, and it's customary within Jewish life to mention the names of loved ones who have died at this week of the year. We have a calendar, and we maintain a calendar, as many congregations do, of people who died at this week of the year. And we mention their names in prayer. And then there's an opportunity as well if other people wish to mention a name of somebody who's recently died. And within our congregation, on this Shabbat, we remember with great love Helena Loeb, Abe Berenti, Harvey Rackwitz, Anthony Arnold, Sidney Zuckerman, Samuel Lampert, Annette Glazer-Kay, Sam Unger, Ella Abrams, Minnie Cooper, Elsie Rosenthal, Roz Resnick, Gertrude Coleman, Sam Jacoby, Annie Weber, Annie Esther Gerhardt, L. Joseph Schwartz, Essie Fleischacker, Sylvia Stein Newman, Ben Friedberger, Dorothy Corman, Hannah Shield, Robert Schreibman, Adele Kearns, Bernd Meisler. Are there any other names to mention tonight? Perhaps those at home have a name to mention as well. For our friends, you see here an empty chair. We placed this chair in our synagogue, as many synagogues around the world did, shortly after the attacks by Hamas on October 7th. It's one of the worst days in Jewish history. hundreds of Jewish people attacked in their beds because they're Jewish. And so we have these names here. These are hostages. Many have returned, but as we just learned last week, 30 are dead, and they're still in the hands of Hamas because they're hoping to extort people who've been imprisoned for other attacks against Jews until these hostages' bodies are repatriated home. This is a picture of a man whom our synagogue symbolically adopted. He did die, but his name is still here. His name is Yotam Chaim, and I can't bear to take him off of our pulpit yet, so he's still here. So that's what this is for, and so we offer our prayers. And the Kaddish, which is entitled the Mourner's Prayer, did I say Shirley Buckman? No. Holy God, jeepers, I'm sorry. Shirley Buckman, I apologize. Thank you. You will. I appreciate it. So Shirley Buckman. So the Mourner's Prayer, which is called the Mourner's Prayer, doesn't speak of mourning, but it speaks of hope and faith and commitment to community. Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba Amen. Be'olma divara chirute v'yamlich malchute. B'chaye chon v'yomei chon v'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala u'vizaman kariv v'meru Amen. Yehi shemei Rabba mivarach la'olam ololmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'rich hu la'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran ba'olma v'meru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya v'chayim oleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imeru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom oleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imeru amen. As we're seated, may we gain comfort from sharing presence together. And we are nearly concluded. Just a couple of brief announcements. We'll conclude in just a minute, and then we'll turn off the stream. And in a minute, we'll be saying a prayer over God who creates the fruit of the vine, that is wine or grape juice, and God who brings forth bread from the earth, that is bread. It's our tradition to share these gifts on Sabbath. It is not intended to make anybody feel uncomfortable. These are gifts. And people who happen to not be Jewish, if they wish to have something, feel free. It's not pressure. It's not a violation. It's just something that we share and we consume. And then after we have the blessing with wine and bread, we'll go into the social hall, and we have some refreshments we can visit and as we say, schmooze, because we got to schmooze a little bit. We appreciate your coming together with us this evening. One announcement, and then we'll conclude, and then we'll have that. So I do wish also to say thank you to Mr. Robert Clopton, who couldn't be here this evening. He's the president of the local chapter of the NAACP, but he is called away. There's been a bit of a family emergency, and so we are keeping Kim and his entire family in our hearts with prayer for healing. And with that, I'm going to ask Mr. Lawrence Voigt to step forward for just a moment, and then he'll explain why he's stepping forward.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and welcome to our visitors tonight. I thought tonight would be a good night to just tell you about a new development. The Mobile Area Jewish Federation and the Mobile Christian Jewish Dialogue are bringing Dr. Rochelle Ford to Mobile April 11th. Dr. Rochelle Ford is the president of Dillard University, which is an HBCU in New Orleans. She was a speaker at the Israel Solidarity Rally on the National Mall in Washington in October. And she is also launching or relaunching an organization at Dillard called the National Center for Black Jewish Relations, which is really an important organization that sort of has been dormant for a long time and is being relaunched at Dillard by Dr. Ford. She's going to be in Mobile on Thursday, April 11th. You'll hear more about it, but I thought, and she's going to be talking about Black-Jewish relations, the things we have to be proud of, and some of the hard questions that we need to talk about. So I thought I would let you know about that because this has just recently been confirmed, and you'll hear more about it. I hope that you'll be on the lookout for information about that, and I hope you'll be able to join us. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Mr. Voigt. So we'll conclude. If you have the prayer book open, it's the very last line of page number 58. The phrase is Oseh Shalom Bimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael. God who makes peace in the heavens, so God bring peace here upon us in the entire world. That's before us here in the prayer book. And after this, again, we'll sign off the prayer with the wine and the bread, and then we'll an opportunity to visit a little bit in the social hall.
Oseh Shalom Bimruma, Hu Yaseh Shalom Leinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Himeru Amen, Himeru Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimruma, Hu Yaseh Shalom Leinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Himeru Amen, Himeru. Peace in our world. May the maker of our love give us hearts that care. Oh, say shalom, shalom b'romal. Oh, yaseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol yoshvei tzaveh. Oseh Shalom Bimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Himeru Amen, Himeru Amen.
Yehuda. By the way, next week is a regular Guitar Shabbat. This has been a modified Guitar Shabbat. That's your PSA for the evening. Folks, we can't wait to see you in person. Come on back. The water's fine. May God bless you. You know that you're loved and you're cherished, an important part of